Joining me from Abuja now is the Director General of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, Julie Oka Dole. It's good to have you join us, ma'am. Talking about Nigeria having the unenviable position of being the point of source, transit, and destination, tell us how critical this means for your agency and what we've achieved so far.
Well, the truth is that almost all the countries now are countries of source, transit, and destination countries. So it's not something that is just a Nigerian problem. Be that as it may, Nigeria is doing so much when it comes to trying to curb the menace of human trafficking. NAPTIP has embarked on a massive awareness campaign, which is key. Prevention is always better than cure. We've engaged the road transport workers. We are also engaging the air transport workers, the airline operators, and all the stakeholders involved, the faith-based organizations, the media, just about everyone you can imagine. We've engaged them in this sensitization.
How much of
NAPTIP has also...
All right, allow me to come in, please. How much of work, again, do you do in rehabilitation of people whom you help get back? And how adequate is it, especially when you look at their harsh economic realities in the country now? How much help do they get eventually?
Well, actually, NAPTIP only concerns itself with victims of human trafficking. We have shelters in the 10 offices, and we rehabilitate these victims of trafficking. We offer them medical support, psychosocial support, and we also empower them. We've trained 3 graduates so far, sponsored by NAPTIP, and I'm glad to report to you that they are now full staff of NAPTIP, working with NAPTIP. The 4th victim who just graduated will start working with us in a very short while. We've also empowered so many in terms of skill acquisition. We have undergraduates being trained by NAPTIP, primary, secondary school. So we don't joke with victims of human trafficking that have passed through the shelters of NAPTIP. Even
here in Nigeria, we can relate with house helps now, for example. I know that is also an issue for NAPTIP. And then you also say that migration in itself can be positive. So how do you merge both, where we talk about child trafficking now and the positive sides of migration?
Well, there's nothing positive about child trafficking. Child trafficking is illegal. When you want to talk about the positive side of migration, yes, people migrate every day. There's absolutely nothing wrong with migrating. But what is wrong with migrating is when you migrate in an irregular and unsafe manner, migrating through the Sahara Desert, migrating through operators who smuggle you, I mean, so this is not the right way to go. If you want to travel abroad for whatever reason, it has to be, first of all, for a legal reason, and you have to go through the legal means and must have the legal documents to be able to stay in such a country.
What about stigmatization of returnees? For example, there's also the perception that victims somehow, benefit from trafficking. How do you explain these scenarios?
Well, only ignorant people can stigmatize victims. A victim is a victim and should never be treated as a criminal. Victims do not enjoy any benefits from being trafficked. They are exploited, they are battered, they are bruised, they are used. So nobody can stigmatize a victim of human trafficking and see them as people who have benefited from being trafficked.
All right, Madam, there's also the issue of collusion. You mentioned earlier about some engagement with evasion agencies, security authorities and all that. What have you been able to achieve to curtail allegations and cases of collusion of collusion of security agencies that fuel trafficking?
Well, the truth is that when we engage with, when we come across any security agent or agency that is involved in aiding and abetting, we arrest. And of course, we've had meetings with the top management of such agencies. We've also visited regulators of the airline agencies to help us. We've also had meetings with travel agencies, because travel agencies have now become recruiters of human traffickers. They've now become human traffickers. They've now become recruiters of victims. And so we are engaging them thoroughly. And awareness, sensitization is always key, and we're doing just that.
All right, and then, of course, we are basking in the celebration of another International Day Against Trafficking in Persons. What's the message? What should be the take-home for the average Nigerian?
Well, this year, the theme for this year is call your government to action. The good thing is that the political will is there on the part of the Nigerian government, but we are now calling on the state governments and the local governments to action. We are telling them human trafficking is real. We should not be in denial, and they should come together, join hands with NAPTIP to stamp out human trafficking from Nigeria. And for the youths, Nigerian men and women, I want to tell you today that when you get offers of jobs abroad, please double check with NAPTIP. When it sounds too good to be true, then it is in fact too good to be true, and you must be very careful.
But people are hungry. The alarming statistics of the jobless. How do you marry all this now with when you now stumble on a too good to be true offer of a better life?
Well, hunger does not make you stupid. If you're hungry, you don't have to be stupid. You can still find out. Like I said before, there are legal ways of migrating. No one is stopping you from migrating. But please double check before you migrate.
Julie Okadonli, DG NAPTIP, many thanks for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.